You have to be liable for taxes or you don't get the exemption. So it has to be not that, because that would mean that's superfluous. What does it mean? And no, and yeah, we don't know. Bills are written hurriedly in 3 days. That and the fact that there's no appropriation for that fund, so it essentially is moot and may end up being repealed after the fact.
I have no.
Find the money.
Yeah. That was something I wondered if anybody had done the math on, because I looked in, dollars would be like 30 cents
Wow.
per parcel. You've got to really get a pile of money in there before it starts moving that needle. If you have anything under.
Hey, Andrew,
Yeah. To make people
you can go,
You send them a 5-figure tax bill and then tax relief.
Andrew, come here. Yeah.
Disability exemption in 2000. They expected 2,000.
You can go to Gordon Stoddy's and get that trailer. Take the truck, maybe between 10 and 2. And he doesn't want to sell the other thing.
Morning, Doug.
I understand that none.
Right, and.
Thanks, Blair. Thanks for training
Is
again.
that not some of the people who voted on it didn't think
You
that
don't have a
was-
choice, do I? Sit up.
Sounded good, right?
Gallery.
Yeah,
I used to sit up here during meetings before all this. Sit back.
I sent you some.
Or got a shift. Look nice though. It's not like the old auto. It's more modern.
We're gun fight.
I don't know where it went.
What they call it, background. Right. Maybe we'll find like I said, either a wire or something to do, that way you can make, because it's hard to see out there. Actually, it probably does a favor. That thing, I don't think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Here, I have to.
O'clock. That's one way to fix it.
9 o'clock. It's 9.
Good morning. Not like we don't have Ox on our phone. Are they gonna fix it or are they gonna?
We're putting a new one in.
We insulted the ghosts yesterday and they knocked it off the wall.
You can get those satellite connected Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they're atomic. Yeah, atomic fire. It is.
Have our members present or?
Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, we have Alan, Hernandez, Starrett, Kenyon, Wegman, Ayas Silva, and then Bryant, and then Bond.
Matt Bryant is from DevNet.
Oh, okay. Let me. We can go ahead and get started. This is the November 19 Public Service Committee meeting, and we will have a roll call.
Caius,
Vice President.
Allen, Hernandez,
Here.
Gopi, Silva,
Here.
Starrett, Shuffle.
Shuffle here. We get Alan or Starrett? Okay, they were on.
Garrett is disconnected. She's logging back on.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the minutes from the October 22nd, 2020 meeting.
Highest move.
Caius moves. Do I have a second?
Hernandez seconds.
Hernandez seconds. If there's no comments or questions, we will, clerk will call the roll.
Allen? Hernandez?
Yes.
Caius?
Highest, yes.
Gopi? Silva?
Silva, yes.
Starrett?
Sheffel, yes. Finance reports are attached. I think we don't have anybody from finance as typical, I guess. So if you have any questions on those, you would contact the finance department. But we do have a resolution for the DevNet. Mr. Armstrong, do you want to address that, or?
Want me to do it?
IT Director Fonstock will take the lead on this.
Okay, I'll probably need Mark's help, so let's see. So do you want to do a motion in second, and
sure.
we'll do discussion?
Let me just pull it up.
Okay.
So this is a resolution authorizing DevNet taxpayer portal for property information system. Do I have a motion to approve?
Highest will move.
Caius moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Hernandez seconds.
That Hernandez seconds?
Okay.
Is that right? Oh, is
Yes.
that, okay, thank you. Okay, discussion.
I can take you through this. So as some of you may be aware, we use a product for tax administration. It is sold to us by a company called DevNet. So DevNet has been our partner for tax administration probably for more than maybe the last 10, 12 years.
Since 2004.
12, yeah. So more than 12 years. That's good. We've been using their products, and a lot of the products are designed around customers coming to the supervisor assessments office or the clerk's office or treasurer's office in order to accommodate services online and to work better with taxpayers that are trying to get access to different services that they normally would come into the office for. We had approached DevNet, Mark Armstrong, the supervisor of assessment, the tax group, which is made up of the supervisor of assessment, the treasurer's office, and the county clerk's office and IT, and asked them if they could give us a statement of work to improve our online services so people can do their different processes and applications online without coming in. I think some of this was discussed during the CARES Act meetings, but we were trying to determine how fast we could get this done for people to do online services. We decided that it wouldn't probably be possible to get it done by the end of the year. So we formulated a capital plan to put the money into a budget to do the work with DevNet. So this is a existing agreement with DevNet that we're just going to expand some development services with. What you have in the proposal that they gave us is a taxpayer portal, so a full-featured portal with authentication. They'll be working on online homestead application, assessment complaints. There's a integration with Laserfish, which is our scanning and document management. There's mobile home registration, tax sale and redemption, and then also how we handle the tax levy entry and approval processes. The total price for the development work is $110,000. The second year of maintenance and work is $9,750. And then there's some additional contingency that we're asking for, but the total cost was $119,750, and we budgeted $144,000 with contingency for this project. So it is a 2-year project. The budget was $144,000 with DevNet for 2-year project, and that's the total cost for the 2 years, not per year. And we're recommending approval. And if Mark Armstrong or anyone from Treasurer's office would like to comment, I think that's pretty much what we have for today.
Mark Armstrong here, Supervisor of Assessments. One of the things that we're looking at is expanding additional ways to serve taxpayers for our functions of our office, but in a contactless way. To a certain extent, this is related to COVID-19, but it goes beyond that. A lot of our new applications come in the time of the year when weather is not particularly conducive to travel to Geneva. A lot of people feel the need to do things in person, but we want to encourage online filing when available for their health and the health of the office. Finally, the more we can do electronically, the more we can move paper online, the less we have to do in person. As I've explained to the county board a number of times, we have dropped personnel headcounts in my office considerably over the last 2 decades. We were at 29 people when the office split with GIS in 2001, and we're less than half that today. And again, I'm not suggesting that we're understaffed, but this continues the trend of being able to use technology to replace personnel. In the long run, the contract amount is well below what the personnel cost to do the same thing would be. And so this is the same trajectory that we have been on. In the long run, this will be a savings to taxpayers and make processing a lot more easy for them and a lot more easy internally as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the impacts for my office. I'm sure the treasurer's office who's here can speak to anything related to theirs. I don't know if someone's online from the clerk's office, but I know there's a significant component that increases their functionality in dealing with taxing districts as well as information related to tax sales.
Thank you. We have someone online from DevNet. Did they want to?
That would be Matt Bryant. Matt is their Chief Technology Officer and a Kane County resident.
Does he have anything he wants to
Matt,
add,
any
or?
additional comments to add?
Yeah, I'd just say good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'd just like to, I think, second what Mark and Roger said. Our goal is really to provide, very professional access points to reduce counter traffic. We know that it's a major concern right now having folks come to the building, and all of these applications that we're talking about are going to automatically import data into the tax system and also into Laserfiche. I think it's going to really streamline operations. And we have 23 years of experience in this sector, and this is it's a project that we're extremely excited to work with Kane County. It's not an exaggeration to say that Kane County is our flagship client in Illinois. We have 70 counties in Illinois that we service, but Kane County is the largest, and we consider our top tier client in the state. So we're very excited about this project.
Thank you. What can you tell us about DevNet, maybe in whatever, 30 words or less, or a little bit about the company, just a nutshell?
Sure. So DevNet is a property tax solution provider. In addition to property tax, we provide the software and services for valuing property. We do have ancillary products such as a recorder system and permitting, vital records. Actually, Kane County uses vital records. And so, anything that deals with what we would consider that the property tax life cycle is, our expertise, our bread and butter. We are in 11 states. We have about 140 clients, but if you break it down into individual offices, it's over 400. So, we are considered one of the top companies in this space. It's a very niche market throughout the country, but we started in Illinois. Illinois is our largest client base and what we consider to be our most important client base. And like I said, Kane County is right at the top of our list of clients that we hold dear. So,
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this excellent proposal or any of those things. Go ahead.
The actual proposal was supposed to be in the packet. Blair has it on screen. Blair, if you go to the last page, it gives you a breakdown of like the costs per section. That's what we were talking about. So you can see the kind of the general cost per area. And this is development on DevNet's part. So they're doing software development for a purpose for us, and that will be part of their maintained product for us. And then in year 2, you're seeing the support costs for maintaining it.
So I have a couple questions. So the current service, that's a separate contract that's separately.
So we use DevNet for tax administration. I believe the contract is it's somewhere around $140,000 a year, and then we also use them for vital records, and the clerk's office uses that, and that's an additional fee. I think it's something like $20,000 or so, but they've been a partner, like Mark said, since back in 2004. So yeah, it's been a while.
I use the basic program all the time. I've said this 1,000 times, and you can just get the information about people, about their house, their full legal name, just all sorts of ancillary uses beyond just the tax bill. I'm curious about the tax sale redemption. Would this supplant the tax sale, the in-person?
I can answer that. No, it does not. That's not what it's for. What it deals with when tax sales are redeemed, which is when they go to the clerk's office because they've been sold and they want to pay them off and pay off the tax buyer.
So you
It's
might be able
simply
to do that online with a credit card or something?
would defer to the tax extension office, which handles that. I'm not sure Brian is been fully briefed on that because he's got a whole other sections there to deal with the clerk's office. And my guess is the clerk's office has been focused on something else over the past 30 days. I don't know if you've heard, but we did actually have an election.
No,
A
you're
good
going to court.
example of the importance of the integration with DevNet, you can see on page 35 of the packet today. And that's within the report. You can see on the chart on page 35 that we have DevNet Wedge visits and DevNet Wedge page views. So just in the month of October, we had 96,180 visits to DevNet Wedge. Those are unique visits that have happened. That's people who have looked up property tax information in general, who did not then need to contact the Kane County Assessment Office or the Kane County Treasurer's Office to look up that information. If you look at the line below that where it says page views, that's individual properties looked up. Now, that means we have about 196,000 parcels in the county, but in October alone, 297,581 parcels were looked up there. So you look at that, then look one line below and you can see telephone inquiries, 2,306. Now, we're going to be running at an all-time high for telephone inquiries this year. And that makes sense given that we've shifted a lot of our focus to doing things by telephone. But if only 10% of those page views turned into telephone calls, we would be looking at almost 30,000 phone calls in October alone. Now, if you look over to 2020 year to date, you see year to date, the phone calls in the county assessment office is 29,449. So this gives you an idea of expanding the trend where in which we're already moving. We're already looking at providing more and more information online, because that will keep people from having to contact the office and use professional staff, but also mean it makes that staff available for those inquiries which are unusual, which can't be handled online, which need a little bit more detail, a little more personal touch. But the vast majority of the people need information. In this case, they need a little bit of interaction, which can be done easily without having to spend personnel dollars and personnel resources on that. So that's why this contract is so important, and why it's important that it be DevNet is that it integrates seamlessly with our existing property tax administration system. Without that seamless administration, we'd spend a lot of time trying to get the systems to talk to each other. And that works in best case scenario, it just takes a lot of extra time, and there's a lot of more opportunity for mistakes. By adopting the seamless integration that DevNet will provide, we'll be able to do this with much less chance for error going forward, and much greater speed and accuracy.
We're good.
Anybody online have any comments or questions? Hearing none. Clerk will vote on the resolution. The clerk, please call the roll.
Allen, Hernandez,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Starrett,
Starrett, yes.
Definitely yes. Where are we? So that completes the finance area. Thank you, Roger. Now the recorder of deeds. I don't know if we have anybody online for the recorder. Certainly not. We'll move on to you have the report in the packet, and we have the treasurer's office here. I don't know if you have.
Here.
Yeah.
Good morning. This is Maria Herrera from the Treasurer's Office. You have the report. Also, we like to thank DevNet for their assistance. We collected our online payments increased dramatically, because of COVID, and that was a great help during those times. And right now, we have 2,400 unpaid parcels at this point. In a dollar value that is $9.9 million. Our tax sale, we don't have a specific date at this point, so it is postponed. That is about it for us for now.
Are those numbers on a page here?
They're not. I just ran them this morning.
Okay. So the 2,400 unpaid taxes are what would be going to sale?
Just about, we usually sell around 2,000 parcels.
Okay. So it's up a little maybe. Are they slowly trickling in?
Yes, they are. Actually, last Friday, we sent out reminder cards. I personally picked up a check from a friend of mine who paid off her loan and forgot to pay the second installment. So they are being reminded and they are walking in.
Yeah. Are they accumulating interest?
Yes, they are. Penalty?
Just
Yes.
a monthly interest?
Yes.
1%?
1.5% per month.
1.5?
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see whether I guess obviously they're not going away because
Right.
they're not.
But we're almost at the level where we would be if we had a sale.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for the treasurer's office or comments online?
Mr. Chairman?
Caius?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Well, thanks. Hey, Maria, on page 28, could you explain a little bit more about the table and it's about the 2018-19 total property tax due. When I look at that table, when I just was looking at it this morning and trying to add up the columns there, they don't always add up in the 2020 payment. Is that because some of it hasn't come in yet, but it's year to date? Last year, they matched up. Total property taxes due was first total installment was 661 and 659, and they add up to 1.3 billion. But
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
I just like it. Page, well, I think it's a real small number, 28. It was up to 26 to 28, or no, 26 it must be. Page 26.
I'll have to look at that and get back to you.
Okay.
Normally, property tax due in property tax, are you looking at the comparison? Or what are you looking
Yeah,
at?
it's a comparison between 18 and 19, which is paid in 19 and 20. In the 2020 year to date, there's a discrepancy, like there's a $1 discrepancy in 2019, but in 2020, there's an $11 million discrepancy there. I just was curious.
The part where we haven't collected, because we did not hold a tax sale. We would be done at this point, but we're not.
Oh, that's what would be the tax sale then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And this obviously was done through the month of October, and the number that I mentioned of the 9.9, that is up to date today. So one is through October, and the other ones that I mentioned is today.
Up to
So
date. Okay.
if those 2,400 had gone to sale in October as typical, that $10 million would have come in cash to the county.
Correct.
The way it is, it's just accrued and sitting there and until that gets solved. So that may be sense. That's a good catch, Mr. Caius. That
I got to get a life.
yeah. Well, I would hate our treasurer to miss $10 million too. That would be a bad thing.
Just curious. If it's going to be presented on a table, at least to the board, if there's a little more explanation for us guys that don't do a lot of accounting, I'd appreciate it. So if you could check that out just to be sure, I should appreciate it.
Yeah, you might be able to come up with, I don't really see the difference or exactly what you're talking about, but the,
well, I think if you plug it into a spreadsheet, you'll see that the top line is total property taxes due, and it was year to date. It was completely paid apparently last year, but this year, if you add up the two first quarter payment and the second quarter payment, it doesn't add up to 1.3585.
The 1.358 million should be another 10 million on top of that.
Yeah, 11 something.
Yeah, that's the disadvantage of not having the tax sale is obviously we don't have that cash, but
sure.
Eventually it'll get sold and eventually it'll come in. Does the tax buyer have to pay that 1.5%?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I'll just put it in my notes here. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Touchscreen doesn't want to.
I'm having trouble too.
Supervisor assessments.
Good morning, everyone. There's two items on the agenda. One is the annual wage ratification. The other is my report. And Mr. Chairperson, how would you like to proceed?
We've got the resolution first. We might as well take that one. Is there someone that would move to ratify the 2% salary increase?
Caius will move.
Alan seconds.
Caius moves. Alan seconds. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Starrett,
Starrett, yes.
Sheffel, yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. The report starts on page 34 of the packet. There's some updates to some of our work referring to not only the physical changes, but the software changes. The second bullet point on the report on page 34 refers to the DevNet contract that you just approved to forward to the full county board. Board of review is underway, and we have a novel system of doing it this year, but it has worked well so far, and we are going to finish it on time and under budget. Special thanks to the IT department, who has continually given us a lot of support in being able to do things safely and productively. But ultimately, our goal is to make sure that property tax assessments are completed on time so that taxing bodies can get their revenue on time. Property taxes are the only stable revenue stream we have going into fiscal year 2021. Want to make sure that is maintained without interruption. On Friday, December 4th, the annual instructional assembly for township assessors will be held. This is something that's required to be held by law. It is open to the public. The public has not shown much interest in the past, and I can understand that. It's mostly a dry and technical type of presentation. While it will still be just as dry and just as technical, it'll be held online this year. Anyone wishing to observe can certainly do so by going to KaneCountyAssessments.org after December 1st, getting the agenda and clicking the link there that will allow it to be watched on the county's YouTube channel. Again, thanks to the IT department for helping us set that up so seamlessly. My monthly production report is on page 35 of the packet. I already discussed some of the information regarding traffic, electronic traffic that's replacing the counter traffic that's gone. I also note that we show increases in overall documents processed as well. And interestingly, the last number, public presentation attendance, this is just tracking how many people I make public presentations to in my role as supervisor of assessments. And you can see last year at this point, 565 persons. This year up to 739. How have we increased? We've taken our show not on the road, but on the internet, and had lots of public presentations then, done Zoom seminars, webinars, and we've had lots of people viewing it. It's perhaps ironic in a year that everyone is supposed to be staying home that we're able to reach more people than ever. I suppose in this case, since it was through the county's Zoom package that IT set up, we'll give IT a shout out again on that. But we have to thank the IT people in generally, even beyond the county, for making things like this accessible to everyone. And interestingly enough, at a lower cost. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions any of the public has, especially if Mr. Caius has totaled any of the numbers and can find any discrepancies there.
I couldn't get that far down there. I trust your numbers, Mark. Hey, but back on page 34, on the board of review, I noticed in the calendar on the homepage for the Kane County Board, well, the day before yesterday, I think it eventually disappeared, but it was listed, a board of review was listed as an item, but without a link on it. Was that your board of review that was coming up?
That would have been then. There was a meeting on Monday. Maybe the link is still set up on Wednesday, and it was still there, but the meeting happened on Monday. They were happening right here in the county boardroom, but thanks to the initiatives of the Information Technologies Department, we now have a secondary location that is just as functional, and it's down in the auditorium where we're set up to do meetings that meet the requirements of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, but can still have a full capability to have participation electronically. I think we actually at our height had 7 people watching the board of review. That would have been absolutely a record number of people watching a meeting like that. But yeah, that's where it is. The full board meets once a month. to review the recommendations of the hearing officers. We had over 800 items on the agenda, but like the county board itself, we adopt a consent agenda process for a significant number of them, and we're able to bring those agenda items in about a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah, I didn't see the link. I saw it was listed, but I wasn't able to link in. So, gee, I missed a really interesting meeting then, didn't I?
Well, interesting is in the eye of the beholder. The link is actually on the Board of Reviews page at kaneCountyAssessments.org. If you go to the agenda, you can click on the link that's right on the agenda.
Are they
Okay, great.
stored permanently on YouTube as well?
I honestly don't know how they're stored. Are they, Roger, are they stored permanently on
It's-
YouTube?
So I was going to add, Mr. Caius had asked me about this also. It was posted to the calendar, but they did not link to the Kane County Assessor's site for the agenda. So it was just a text on the calendar instead of normally we link it back to the agenda. I talked to the county board office and they've been trying to post meetings on the main calendar just so people know that they're there, and if they can link the document to the source, they'll do it. For that one, they did not link the source document, so we were talking about the procedural part of that for the county board office. One of the things that we are working on and will continue to work on is the process of building the agendas and the information for the meetings. We were talking about that and how a lot of the processes that have changed have created a problem with the workflow for getting information onto agenda. Everything is electronic, so we need to get that information in advance of the meetings. And this is not anything to do with the assessor's board of review, but the general consensus was that in order to get everything ready for the meeting and have it visible online, we need to make sure that they're turning things in early. We can have time to do some quality control, make sure that it's linked, but doing it, the day before, the day of, and again, this is not the assessor's board of review, but we've been struggling with that as a group. So there were a few different meetings that we were trying to incorporate even from the forest preserve on the site, just so people know where to go. Because we're not obviously having everybody show up at the main county board. So it's a work in progress.
Is there a cutoff date?
It used to be the Thursday before the following week's meetings. And now it's become basically 2 days before. I mean, it's pretty much on demand. And then I know from personal experience, just getting presentations, brought in at the day of or the day before. So we're going to try and work on a draft policy to say anybody that wants an agenda item or a presentation on the packet, we need to get stuff in advance of the meeting, have it on there so that they can post it the Friday before the following week. We have a legislative or statutory requirement to have the agenda 48 hours in advance, but in order to practically do everything that's needed, we need at least probably 4 days, 3 or 4 days. Obviously, there's emergencies. There's things that the county has to do. We get that, but it can't become the norm that everything happens the night before. And I know, I'd personally like to thank the county board staff, Blair, Mark, Smith. They do a lot of work in the evening to make sure that the stuff gets ready for the next morning. So you'll find them online at 9 o'clock at night trying to get some of this stuff together because we have to meet at 9 in the morning and there's no time to do it in the morning. So thank you very much.
Mark?
One thing we certainly could do is provide the county board office something to link to for that.
Yeah.
While this is more of an informational notice rather than our official notice, and the official notice is online or at kaneCountyAssessments.org, there's no reason not to put a link directly to the page where the board's agendas and minutes are. So that way, when that goes up, someone can actually link to that. We are not part of the IQM2 system. So that really inhibits the county board staff from providing those types of links to it.
Yeah.
We can certainly look at whatever the county board would like as far as how to set up agendas in the future. Practically speaking, we have one more meeting of this type on December 21st. So I'm not sure that overhauling the system for this year is practically able to happen. But if it's just a matter of providing a link to that, I think that would probably be an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and not to get too far into the technical part of it, but the IQM2, which we use for the agenda in here, is doing the workflow and the voting and moving agenda items and resolutions and ordinances from one committee to another. What the assessor's office is doing does not follow that workflow. So it's separate. It just kind of exists on its own.
Well, the Board of Review is not a county board.
It's not a standing committee.
Yeah, it's a.
Correct. By statute, it's completely independent of the county board because the county board is a taxing body with authority to bring things to the Board of Review. Therefore, the Board of Review can't be subsidiary to the county board for that reason.
Is the conference room downstairs, is that set up as sort of a Zoom platform for?
Yeah, it has a Zoom capability. It has the audio cameras, microphone system. It's well equipped. You can do.
I'm noticing, or I'm thinking I'm noticing more people having more meetings down there, and I don't know if Water Resources has.
They can use that.
And then do you have an IT guy there?
We can support it with the support desk. So if anybody wants to use it, they can call the help desk, which is extension 3800. And it's scheduled through the county board office, I believe, that auditorium. So if they schedule it and they ask for resources, we'll get a service ticket for that. And it's pretty easy to use. You just log in, turn it on.
Okay. Do we, anyone online have any comments or questions related to any of that?
This is Alan. I have a question for Mr. Armstrong.
Okay.
Mr. Armstrong, the Board of Review complaint meetings are all done online, and kudos to you for that. That's just amazing. I just wondered, there have got to be people out there in the ether who are not computer savvy. How do you bring those people into the fold so that they can have their hearings online?
Well, the hearings are actually done via the telephone. We didn't, when we were developing the rules, because the rules have to be voted on very early in this process. And when we were looking at developing the rules in May, we weren't certain just how quickly we would be able to put together a Zoom type platform. And so what we did instead was everything is done over the telephone. So what it requires someone to do to participate in a hearing is to have a telephone number that we can call them. And we call them and we listen and hear them talk and maybe questions we have. It's a conference call, so taxpayers are online, the assessors are online, attorneys are online, taxing districts and their attorneys are on, when I say online, on the telephone call. So it's simply a conference call, and we haven't had any concerns at all about that. The other thing is not every hearing requires a actual teleconference. Many people want to submit evidence, but they have no desire, no need to actually have an in-person or voice-to-voice hearing. And so what they do is they simply check a box on the form, and the board is going to review that just based on the written evidence. It's very similar to a process adopted by the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. Does that answer your question, Ms. Allen?
Absolutely. How very clever of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next item is Regional Office of Education. I don't know if we have anybody online or.
This is Deanna Oliver, Assistant Regional Superintendent, and I'm online.
Morning. Do you have any?
I do. I have a couple of items.
Okay.
Our office is currently on an adaptive pause. So we're all working remotely, and that was just to reduce some of the exposure for our office staff, and we'll be doing that just temporarily through currently December 1st, which coincides with my next topic, which is our district's under the recommendation of our county health department, are also going to be going on an adaptive pause from November 23rd through December 4th, and they will be attending school remotely. And then my final item is that we've still been kind of pressing along at the Kane County Juvenile Justice Center with the improvement of the student environment, and that is by purchasing furniture for each of the living units. And we are doing that at no cost to the county. So we're using delinquent grant funds from the Illinois State Board of Education. And these funds so far have furnished 2 living units that are completed. And then we are now working towards finalizing the other 2 living units, and that furniture should be arriving. We anticipate before the end of the year. Then we will have all living units and pods with brand new furniture that has all been approved by the security detail at the Juvenile Justice Center. So in addition to that, to kind of address the academics at the Juvenile Justice Center and to make them more in line with what our kids are seeing in their home schools, we have purchased additional iPads. So at one point when we can make this all happen, our students will have one-to-one technology with the use of iPads. And so we're really excited to still kind of furthering opportunities for kids, even though these are really challenging times. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So I have a question on the furniture. You redid all the classrooms previously?
We did. So all of the classrooms and the library. And now we decided we would progress them into the living units.
And so what is the living unit? Is that like a common space outside?
Right. We're in more of the residential area, but where the kids have more common space. So where they spend their downtime. And then time also where they might receive group discussions and group therapy.
Do they do schoolwork on their own during downtime?
That would be kind of at the discretion of the staff at the JJC. We kind of take care of the time when they're during normal school hours. So the JJC youth counselors kind of address those things after school hours. But typically we try to keep the schoolwork contained to the typical school day.
Anybody online have any comments or questions?
Alan here.
Alan?
I just want to say thanks for trying to take a coarser environment and make it a little more home-like. You can never completely do that, but the more that we try and make it comfortable for the kids, I think is probably always a good thing to do. So thank you for finding money and working on that.
My pleasure. And when I can get really good photos, I'm not sure when we'll actually be able to tour, but I'll provide some photos of that work, both before and after, because when you see the before and after, the difference is remarkable.
That's great. Thanks. Tours, remember those?
All right. Thank you very much. And we move on to the county clerk. Pollock is here.
Good morning. Do you want to start with the resolution?
Yes.
Make a motion.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a budget adjustment and addendum to the warranty support and licensing agreement with Hart Interactive for voting systems.
Alan moves.
Alan moves. We have a second.
Kaya second.
Kaya seconds.
It's a housekeeping. It's a housekeeping item. thanks to Roger and the staff for reviewing and negotiating this, and the software goes with our system, and just need to have it for the next round of elections.
So it's just a 3-year extension of the maintenance contract, or what I would.
So that, yeah, the basically the system has software and support that it goes along with the licensing, and it's a obviously a state Board of Elections certified system that needs to be maintained. The request was for a 3-year term, and what they did was they increased it 4% over last year, and they did a fixed flat agreed price for 3 years. We looked at 3 years as the optimal term based on the age of the system. There's significant amount of work that needs to be done to look at what systems we have and what changes need to be made. I do not foresee any changes before the primary consolidated elections. It's just too short of a window, and I don't know that you would have the adequate time to do all the work to look at the system even before the next gubernatorial races in 2 years. So we're looking at a 3-year term, and I think there'll be a lot of assessment of how this works. We had a lot of changes this election with mail-in ballots, vote by mail, different types of voting. So I think, looking at that and learning and trying to figure out where we're going to be as we get prepared for the next cycle in 2 years to 4 years is probably our target. But again, the system is aging. It's not a new system. It's been around for some time, and we're going to be working with the county clerk's office and elections division to try and determine where we go next. So it's going to be quite a large project, I think, over the next few years. But this will maintain it, what we have, for the next 3.
So you're talking about the transition to something new, potentially postpone.
I think we have good technology in place. I think that the challenge is that as it ages and as the needs and requirements for elections change, there are things out there that solve those problems that we need to be looking at, and they might be more cost effective, more efficient. They might change how we do business. And I think those are all things that are on the table that we need to look at in the next 2 to 3 years. So this will get us through those couple years. There's been no indication from Hart InterCivic that they would change their support of the system. So that's a good thing. They offered us 3 years. We were initially looking at it and wondering if we would be able to get extended time, like 2 or 3 year commitment from them. They were very accommodating. They didn't even hesitate to give us 3 years. So that was good. At least they're a good company. They're behind their product. They're supporting it. And I think that's the other part is the increase of 4% was the first time I think we've seen an increase in the actual rate in the last 5 years. We've had a couple of changes where we added equipment, which increased our support costs, but I don't think we've seen the rate go up until this year. So this was the first actual increase that they've received, I think about 5 years.
So actually, this is all budgeted, just the 16,000
Yeah.
wasn't budgeted.
The 16,000 represented the increase over last year's rate. And when we did the renewal, we were working with them and budgeting at the same time. So we budgeted at last year's rate, and then we got the 4%. So we need to do $16,000. This line item, if it's not familiar to you, it is a county-wide services fund for repairs and maintenance of computers. We have paid for the election maintenance out of this fund. It's managed through finance to pay county-wide maintenance contracts. So the money would come from contingency and go to repairs and maintenance in the county enterprise.
So Hart InterCivic Software, they're an American-based company and have no relation to the Dominion or?
They are in an independent, a separate company. Yeah, they're in Texas. I'm not sure if they're in Plano still, Austin. Yeah, they're in Austin or Plano, something like that. I can't remember which city, honestly.
Yeah.
But I know that all the election software providers, they do work with each other because they share jurisdictional boundaries and different things. So, they obviously do work with each other, but this is a separate and independent company from the other providers.
When you program our machines for this an election, does like HART, do they connect to the internet and download the information, or is that done?
No, the systems that we use for the actual ballot creation, tabulation, and reporting are entirely closed systems. They have no connection to anything outside of the room in which the work is conducted. We do have a rallying where we count the cards on a private network at night, when we're bringing in results. So at no time is the system on the internet or even attached to the internet in an indirect way. It's a air gap system.
So what does HART do during the course of a year to earn $260,000?
So we operate several thousand pieces of their equipment and different versions of their software. If there is an issue with the software or an issue with the devices, they will give us full support of those devices, answer any questions, solve any problems. Their support is phenomenal. I mean, we can call them and literally get a person on the phone to walk staff or someone through a problem. Usually the problems are related to when we're creating the ballots early on and we're trying to get the right text, the right titles, the right options, and we have to they have to test and validate and verify everything. So as they're going through that process, if they're having any type of problem, they can call HART, and HART will get on the phone and walk you through fixing it. If we have any issues with the actual equipment in the polling places or wherever, they'll help us walk through support of that equipment. And then we also get, it's at a cost, additional cost for parts and labor, but they'll do depot repair on licensed systems. So we can get equipment fixed. If you don't have the license, you don't have a relationship with them. So
The voting machine that I would vote on, that's their product.
there's an E-Slate and there's an E-Slate with a disabled unit. There's a judge's booth controller, which is what handles the balloting in precinct. And then we have optical scanners, and we have a tally and rally system, which counts the actual ballot. They're basically a memory card. They call it an MMB, but it's a PCI memory card that gets counted. Those are, that's really how the counting takes place.
We don't allow them to connect to
Nope.
our system through the internet. How do they give you software updates or?
Well, that is one of the things about a state certified system. You are using it as certified, so it has to maintain a constant, consistent state that was certified. In that regard, you're not updating the software.
We're not sending you bug fixes every
Yeah, and that's one, I think that is one of the questions is, how consistent and reliable, a system is sometimes is managed through change, and that because of the certification process at the state and federal, you really can't change it without getting the state to recertify it. So it's kind of locked in, and with that is good, from a security standpoint, it's very consistent, reliable. On the other side of it, technology has changed a lot in the time that we've owned that system. And because of the certification process, you can't really take advantage of a lot of new things within the system. So you see the equipment for vote by mail, which is on the front end of receiving ballots, is very sophisticated and does a great job. But on the back end, that still has to be brought into the HART system. So I think any new system that we look at would want to incorporate more features that would take advantage of some of the mail sorting and mail processing that we did with paper ballots, as far as the vote by mail. Right now, you come from the the scanning or the mail sorting to scanning the ballots, and at the point of scanning the ballots, that's really where the judges are bringing them into the counting process. The mail sorting machines and the different things that we use to handle the paper before it gets scanned are not part of the HART system. They're just helping us with managing the volume of everything that's coming in and making sure that we have adequate tracking and reliable and understanding of who's sending things into us and getting them ready for the counting teams.
Sorry to belabor this, but if we had a recount in Kane County of the mail-ins, have we preserved the 2 images of the 2 signatures? Is that a permanent file, or we could go back and match those again? I know they pop up and the judges approve them, but if we...
Elections has handled discovered recounts in the past. The same preservations exist as they did before. We filed statutes, so everything.
We just had many, well, we didn't have that digital.
We had vote by mail in the past.
Right, but not that digital scanner, optic reader that brings it up on the computer.
But there's still, the ballots are still run through the same system. They're still run through the ballot mail.
The ballot resolution process happens in HART, in the actual voting system. And I would again go back to the mail, separation sorting equipment is really happening prior to the actual tabulation or the scanning and vote count. All of the information though it is preserved. The ballots, I believe they keep the actual envelopes with the postmarks even. So I think those are maintained as well. You'll have all the, it's a lot.
I was saying the equipment that did the sorting, it was automation of just things that humans did before. It hasn't changed the process. It just saved time.
Yeah.
But the same process that's happened for however long it's been going on, the HART equipment, has not changed.
Okay, so this is a $16,000 budget amendment. Does anybody else online have any comments or questions? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Hernandez, Caius,
Caius, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Starrett,
Barrett, yes.
Duffel.
Definitely yes. Then we have
You have the monthly report. You can see that even with COVID and the limited foot traffic, we're still at almost 1.3 million so far this year, on track for what the clerk's office said they would produce in revenue, and we still have a month left. So we're not that far off of last year, even at this point.
any general comments on the election? I mean, by all accounts, Kane County did well, got votes in early.
Oh, you want to talk about the consolidated primary coming up?
Yeah.
No,
You're moving on.
I wish. So the clerk had been here and spoken about elections and always wanting to make sure that the elections are efficient, transparent, fast, and safe. And I think that thanks to the staff, thanks to the public, thanks to IT, all those things are accomplished. If you look, 234,000, almost 235,000 votes in this election in the middle of a pandemic. The most votes ever in Kane County, 62,000 more than in any prior election. 85,000 votes by mail were received, 7 times the record. 101, almost 102,000 early votes, way past 2016. So if you looked and saw what was happening at 10 after 7 on election night, you had almost 100, actually over 180,000 votes that were posted. Look at our neighboring counties. You had the collars that had 100 election judges that were still counting votes over the weekend. We had this process there. So, I mean, Jack had been ahead of the curve on looking at handling vote by mail, and this county was, we said it all along, we would be in a position to handle it, and we did. So I think we have to make sure that the credit's given to that forethought, because other counties were reacting when we were ready. So Jack and his staff, I think, did an excellent job of that. So,
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think if Kane County ran every county in the country, we would not be where we are today. Anticipating the increase in mail-in ballots really worked out for Kane County. Changing the voting system, you know, like Roger's saying, well, we want a 3-year window before we think about changing the system. And I think that whether it's 2-year or 4-year, that's prudent.
these aren't new discussions. We've talked about this. I mean, Jack's been before you. We've talked about legislative changes. We've talked about issues. If after this election, the legislature says we want to go move towards mail because this worked. So if you buy new equipment and it's not, and you don't need as many voting machines because you're going more mail, I mean, these are the decisions you make. You can save money and you want to make sure you have the right equipment to handle things. So.
Yeah, and but that equipment is not, you can't call up Uline and say, send me a voting machine or, you know, a mail-in ballot handling system. You know, there are lead times for all these things. And that's what I guess my comment is, that changes shouldn't be made so rapidly. They need to be made deliberately and given adequate time to manufacture and construct appropriate machines and software. Go ahead, Roger.
As a IT department that supported the last transition of election equipment, I would tell you that it's very specific to the requirements that you define early on for what has to happen from the state and federal. They pass that down, and then you have to kind of adapt and work with that. But working the selection and the implementation of a system in between the election cycles is a substantial undertaking. And last time, I think we spent 2 or 3 years working on that, and it happened very fast. I mean, once it got moving, we had time between 2 election cycles to implement. The other thing, and Brian is very accurate, the amount of money and cost associated with doing this can vary wildly based on what you're being required to do. Some estimates for the DuPage County and Chicago Board of Elections, I think Chicago was $30 million on a 10-year contract. DuPage had an estimate, I think, at one time for about $15 million on a 10-year. And I think we're somewhere in let's go for $8 or $10 million. So you're talking about substantial amounts of money that would require not only election, planning and clerk planning, but also I think financial planning that the county needs to think about long term. It'll take a lot of financial planning to pull that together too.
Ms. Starrett, do you have a question?
Yes, just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just actually wanted to say thank you very much to Jack Cunningham's office and to Brian as well as their representative for having the foresight, basically seeing these issues from a long distance and being prepared and making us, as the chair mentioned earlier, this is a county that we can be very proud of. And with obviously everything that is going on right now around the country, and certain counties are being pointed up, saying that they're not doing a good job, I think we should be very proud of our county I think that the media coverage that we received before as well, prior to it, really showed what an excellent job the department has been doing, and also with Jack being able to get the machinery and everything for this, and at an amazingly discounted price. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and we're very proud in King County to have a department that works so well, just like all of our other departments, but just wanted to say thank you on this issue.
Thank you. Good comments. I agree. I knew I lost my election by about 7:15, and you know what more can Mr. Hanson?
Good morning, and thank you. Just to echo the sentiments of Ms. Starrett, thank you to Jack and Raymond and that entire office over there, and you too, Brian. The results were the news of the night, not the process or the safety or the smoothness of the election itself, and the collaboration with IT to make sure that everything went probably even smoother than you may have anticipated. And when you don't hear complaints from constituents, when you don't make the news, it's a good thing. So thank you to everyone that was involved, including all the poll workers and the election judges that went out on that day and performed their duties too.
Agreed. Very good. We are out of time. Other business, we have none. No executive session. I need a motion to replace reports on file.
Starrett moves.
Caius move.
Starrett
Caius second.
moves. Caius seconds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sure.
Clerk, call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Hernandez, Caius,
Caius, yes.
Silva,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Sheffler.
Definitely yes. Unless anybody else has anything further on the phone, speak now. Otherwise, I need a motion to adjourn.
Starrett moves.
Starrett moves. Mr. Caius, are you going to? Alan
Alan
seconds.
Alan seconds.
I'll give somebody else a chance. Miss Allen, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, thank you for running these meetings, for keeping us all tied together. This is a relatively difficult committee in that you're mostly dealing with electeds who come in and make their reports and want to get back to business. And so being able to bring us under this public service umbrella is a reasonably tricky thing to do. So thank you for the good job
Okay.
you've done doing it.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. I guess we do
Thank you,
adjournments
Mr.
by voice vote. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Good night, or thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody online, we will use this same online meeting room for the Agricultural Committee. We'll need a few minutes to get everything reset digitally. So please be patient with us, but we'll be back to you shortly.
Generally,
Okay.
can actually do market value of something.
Yeah, I don't even really,
Thing off of it,
no, I can't.
probably don't. Or we'll get
So should I turn it in?
whenever you're done.
Okay.
We can have somebody actually look at it and get the case fixed. They'll fix it probably. It's probably
Well, I looked it up online and several months.
That's about something.
Yeah.
6, 700. It's fine. No,
It's a
it
full
happens.
laptop.
It happens. Well, don't worry about that. I mean, but the repair of it, that probably damaged the screen and the case would be,
Yeah, it's just over time.
but this is a touch screen, so it'll mess up the touch part.
Sure.
Yeah, if you want, I can have.
Ms. Allen, look at your private messages, please.
I don't,
Or when you turn it in, don't worry about it. What we do is we get that, we take it to a recycler, color the condition of it, which that one's gonna be 4.